Hello there, my name is Will and welcome along to another What's That Groove, where I break down some of my favourite drum beats from some of my favourite artists. In today's lesson, I'm taking a look at the song Limbo by Royal Blood. Yes, Royal Blood are back. They've got a new album, a new single, and a bit of a different sound. They've gone a bit disco, and I like it. It's kind of like Royal Blood does Daft Punk, and I like Daft Punk, so I'm into it. And in this new single, Limbo, we've got a really interesting groove being played in the verse. And in today's lesson, I'm going to be showing you two different approaches that you could use to learn how to play that particular groove. Now, I'm using two different approaches to hopefully cater for different difficulty levels, but both approaches should help you get a better understanding of how the groove works. Now, to help me achieve a similar drum sound to what we have in Limbo, I'm using a big fat snare drum on my snare, and then I've rolled up an AM snare towel and taped it down to my floor tom to really help me give me that thud, that powerful thud that you need in this song. And then I've got my 70s sounding snare with the big fat snare drum. Now, the groove that's played in the verse of the song is actually a 4-bar loop that is repeated. And we're going to break up those 4 bars and learn them in chunks. And to begin with, we're actually going to learn the second and the third bar of that 4-bar loop. This just makes it a little bit easier for us to build on our understanding of how the groove works. Now, it's based around a very classic kind of pop and rock beat, where initially we're just going to have bass drums landing on 1 and 3, and the snare drum on 2 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. On top of that, we're then going to add in 2 more notes, and these notes are going to land on the and the of 1. So now your counting has become 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. And those 2 and notes could be played in 2 different ways. Approach A, our first approach, is to see if we can play it all with our hands, and we're going to play a left hand, right hand for the and on your floor tom. So you've got kick, left, right, left, 3, 4. If you want to, you can put the right hand on the floor tom with that bass drum and with that snare to beef it up even more. But that is totally up to you. Approach B, our second option, is to actually see if we can use our bass drum to help us play that and instead of using just our hands. So this time, the and is going to be played with the right hand and the bass drum is going to play the So I have 1 and 2, bass, floor, bass, snare. And then I carry on with the rest of the groove, 3, 4. Once you're comfortable with that counting, we need to add in another note, and this one's going to land on the E of 2. So now your counting has become 1 and 2 E, 3, 4. 1 and 2 E, 3, 4. And depending on which option you played will depend on where you're going to play this E. Option A, you're going to put the E on the right hand and the floor tom. So now when you play your kick, left, right, left, immediate right, straight after that left hand on the floor tom. So 1 and 2 E, 3, 4. Or alternatively, if you want to use option B, we could try and see if we could put the bass drum on the E of 2. So now you'd have kick, right kick, snare, and then the kick immediately after the snare. So kick, right kick, snare, kick. Here's both approaches played a little bit faster, and remember it's the same counting for both bars 2 and 3. Here's the first approach looped. And the second approach looped. Even though approach A might be seen as the easier approach because you're using your hands to play more of the groove, you are still probably leading with your weaker hand if you're a right-handed player. Worth saying, you would do the opposite sticking if you are a left-handed player, and therefore you'd be using your right hand to approach the groove. Completely normal if at first this feels a bit alien because it's not going to feel as natural as leading with your stronger hand. But keep on playing it quite a few times and it should get a little bit easier. Step number 2 is just a small addition. We're going to be adding in an open hi-hat on the second bar of your 4-bar loop. So this is the first of the 2 bars we've learnt so far. And this open hi-hat is going to land on the and of 3. So now our second bar counting has become 1 and a 2E, 3 and 4. 1 and a 2E, 3 open 4. So you could play this either left or right-handed, completely up to you. If we look at option A, it would sound like this. If I'm using approach B, it would sound like this. Now this is just happening in our second bar, so now I'll play bars 2 and 3 back to back. Approach A to begin with. One more time. And then approach B. One more time. Once you've got those 2 bars down, it's time to get a little bit busier and take a look at bars 1 and 4 of our 4-bar loop. So the first and the 4th bar of your 4-bar loop actually start exactly the same, and they build on a rhythm we've already been using. So now we're actually going to add in another 16th note. Previously we were playing 1 and a 2E, 3, 4. Well, now we're adding in an E on the 1. So we're going to have 1E and a 2E, 3, 4. 1E and a 2E, 3, 4. And if you're doing approach A, you're going to try and play this on the floor tom. Now, this can be a little bit tricky if you're using just your hands. There's a few different ways in which you could do it. You could start perhaps with your left hand, which does work, but it can feel a little bit odd starting with the weaker hand. You could start with your right hand and put your hand over the top of your left. However, for me, I think that this is built for the paradiddle, and a right hand led paradiddle played on the floor tom will make things a lot easier to then move your left hand over to the snare drum. So you could play paradiddle, just one on the floor tom, right, left, right, right, and then that frees up the left to then go to the snare, and you just play, just like you did before, your left, right, 2E on your snare and floor. So you have paradiddle 2E. The bass drum still needs to land on beats 1 and 3. So this is how you're going to start off actually your first bar of your 4-bar loop. There's even more to add into the 4th one, but the first bar of the groove is going to be paradiddle 2E, 3, 4. If you're using approach B, this is where things get really tasty because we're going to add in that E as well, and we're going to do it with our left hand on the floor tom. We're actually going to keep everything else exactly the same as bars 2 and 3. So you're still playing kick, right kick, snare kick, 1 and 2 E, 3, 4. It's just that before that right hand plays, we're going to put a cheeky left in there as well. So we're going to have kick, left, right, kick, snare, kick. It's a lot of notes, isn't it? Kick, left, right, kick, snare, kick. Now that's what happens at the beginning of both the first and the fourth bar. Let's just have a look and see what it sounds like if we play our first bar followed by our second and third bar. So these are the first 3 bars of our 4-bar loop. And what I'll do is at the moment, I'll just stop for the 4th bar and leave a gap so you can hear what it's beginning to sound like. Here is approach A. And here is approach B. Once you've got that down, let's go ahead and see if we can learn what happens in that 4th bar. So now we arrive at our 4th bar of our 4-bar loop. And as I said, it starts exactly the same as the first bar. However, the second half of the bar, beats 3 and 4, are actually different. So rather than playing our normal 1E and a 2E, 3, 4, like we do in bar number 1, we're now going to play 1E and a 2E, 3 and 4E and a. And that pattern there is played on 2 bass drums, 3 and then 4 E-ander being played on the snare drum. So 3 and 4 E-ander. On the and of 3, yep, there's more I'm afraid, we have an open hi-hat at the same time as that bass drum. So it's bass, bass and hi-hat, 4 E-ander. And this is the same for both approaches. So the same sticking whether you're doing approach A with the paradiddle or approach B with the linear option with the bass drum. Let's put this together and see what this sounds like. So our total rhythm for that 4th bar, just a reminder, is 1E and a 2E, 3 and 4 E and a. And approach A with the paradiddle will sound like this. And then approach B with the bass drum and floor tom combination would sound like this. Now once you have that 4th bar down, it's time to see if we can put all of these bars all together. I hope you have a good memory. We're going to see if we can play our 4-bar loop, bars 1, 2, 3 and 4, one after the other. I'll start with approach A and I'll play it nice and slowly, just once through to begin with. Here we go. Quick tip with approach A, you might actually find by using that paradiddle, if you get used to that, you could actually play bars 2 and 3, just 2 right hands rather than left, right, left. You could just play right, right, left, right. And you can just keep your hand there. So if you feel comfortable with the paradiddle, that little right, right there can come in handy. Let's take a look at how approach B sounds with that fourth bar included as well. So I'm going through nice and slowly once again, bars 1 through to 4, but this time with my bass drum and floor tom combination. Now, once you have that down, it is a 4-bar loop, as I said, so you have to keep playing it around and around and again. And this is actually where things get quite interesting for the listener and can sometimes be a bit confusing. Because the last beat of the bar, of the fourth bar, is 4E and-a, all played in the snare, that goes straight into the first 16th notes played on bar 1 of 1E and-a, and we even have 2E in there as well. So you have this run of loads of 16th notes that kind of go from the end of one bar back round to the beginning. And what happens is it kind of disguises where the 1 is. It's not as obvious where the 1 is, where the beat begins and ends, which makes it sound great. That's what gives it that kind of cool looping sound. So let's give this a go and see if we can play this through looped a few times. Approach A to begin with, nice and slowly. And a bit faster. And then approach B. And a little bit faster as well. Step 5, yes, there's a step 5. You thought we were done, weren't you? You thought surely this is over. Surely we've learnt the 4-bar loop. Well, no, I'm afraid Ben Thatcher plays something different on the 4th bar of the 4th loop. So you play that loop through, you've just learnt, and been playing beautifully, by the way. You play that through 4 times, and on the very last bar, we actually have a different ending. So approach A, you play through bars 1, 2, and 3 exactly the same, but when you get to the 4th bar, you're actually going to play a shorter phrase. Off of the back of your paradiddle that you play on 1E and a 2E, you're going to carry on with some single strokes from there and play and a 3. So it's paradiddle, left, right, left, right, left. So the 4th loop that you play through all together would sound nice and slowly like this. If you're using approach B, again, we're going to play bars through 1, 2, and 3, all exactly the same. And we're going to start off the 4th bar, like we did with the other one, exactly the same. We're just going to add on a little bit extra. So we have our 1E and a 2E, kick, left, right, kick, snare, kick. And then we're going to put an extra right hand kick drum flam on the snare, if we can. So our 1E and a 2E and a 3 is going to be, here we go, kick, left, right, kick, left, kick, right, kick, flam. Did you get all that? I'll play it nice and slowly. Let's give it a go. I love this one because it allows you to get that flam in more easily. If you have been learning approach A, give that fill a go at the end because it's just great fun to play. Okay, nice and slowly, the fourth loop with this drum fill on the end for approach B. Hopefully from this you can then put everything together and play through the entire verse. If you're using approach A, it should sound something like this. And if you're playing approach B, it should sound something like this. Hopefully you've used one of these approaches to help you play along with the verse groove from Limbo by Royal Blood. Let me know in the comments which approach you went for. Perhaps you maybe even combined some of the approaches together. I do think there's quite a few different ways you could go about playing along with this song. And if you have any requests of songs you'd like to see me break down, pop them in the comments as well. If you got something from this, please like the video and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more videos just like this one. And until next time, my name is Will and I will see you again soon. I've got a really blue hand. Can you see that? Really blue. I think I've got new jeans on and when I've been hitting the snare drum, hand's gone blue. Weird.